Welcome back to Growth Without Referrals. Today, I'm joined by Gabriel España, Managing Director of Iskali Capital Group. Gabriel brings a global perspective to investment and infrastructure development, with experience working across multiple countries, sectors, and capital structures. His work spans areas like energy, infrastructure, and large-scale project financing, often across borders and complex regulatory environments. Gabriel, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thanks to you and all the people that is listening this conversation. I'm very excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. And Gabriel, before we dive into the business side, I want to start with your story, because your background includes work across different countries and industries, which is not something most professionals experience early in their career. Walk me back to the early stages of your career.
Well, I mean, it's a very, I will say that for the world financing arena, it's very, very, very unique. I started in Mexico City. After my MBA, I joined Citibank Banamex, a local bank in Mexico City. I'm originally from Mexico City, and I started doing project financing, basically toll roads, power plants, and things like that. And I'm civil engineer originally. And so I was like a bridge between the financial group and the engineers in all the construction projects. But these were not small construction projects. These were large, I mean, multi-billion-dollar projects. And at that time, Mexico was developing a lot of infrastructure, toll roads and power plants. So I was actually, at a very young age of my life, I took a lot of responsibility designing financial structuring for these projects. So then I moved to Rothschilds. That was basically in Mexico. And then I moved to Rothschilds. Rothschilds is a British investment bank from the Rothschild family, and started working across the region. With my background in Mexico doing power plants and toll roads, they asked me to help them advising a large conglomerate. It was Siemens, to structure some energy projects also in Mexico and in some other countries of Latin America. So I started expanding my scope of work to other countries. So I have the opportunity to work in Central America, in Nicaragua, and in Colombia, and also had the opportunity to assess some projects in Brazil and Chile. And after 4 years there, I was invited to join the IFC. IFC is the private sector arm of the World Bank. It's the International Finance Corporation. And that institution supports the emerging markets, the poorest countries in the world, helping them with financial solutions, debt, equity, mezzanine funding in emerging markets. I mean, for environmentally friendly projects, what is called now impact investing. At that time, that label didn't exist at all, but we were doing infrastructure, and we were also helping companies to reconfigure their operations to be more environmentally friendly. Then I started working in other countries, mainly in the manufacturing, agribusiness, and services space, in which I have the opportunity to work. Well, I worked there for more than 20 years, and at that time, I worked in more than 50 countries. So I had the opportunity to visit every single country in Latin America and the Caribbean, even all the small islands in the Caribbean, assessing resort investments and things like that. And also had the opportunity to work in India, South Africa, Nigeria, the Balkans. So it was, for me, those 20 years, never thought in my life. I mean, I'm coming from Mexico City, one of the largest cities in the world. I mean, with a lot of people, with a lot of dreams, but with limited opportunities. That is part of the reality in the emerging world. Having the opportunity to influence change in some countries, helping them to develop impact investing or development finance, for me was an amazing experience. I had the opportunity to provide affordable housing in South Africa, and I visited some of the projects that I helped to develop in Soweto. Soweto is one of the poorest areas of Johannesburg in South Africa. You see that with a little bit of effort, because it's what we do. I mean, it's as a financial professional, I mean, you are just, I mean, a small piece in a large puzzle. With a little bit of effort, you can change the life of millions. And that, I will stop there, because it's otherwise I'm going to start crying. I mean, because the story behind the projects that I have done in my life, it's quite impressive. So there are certain things that as a banker, if you want to call me that way, I'm a world banker, I don't see them in my income statement, but I see them in my hard pocket.
Wow, Gabriel, so impressive. And what did those early experiences teach you about the importance of relationships in getting complex deals done?
That's fascinating, because as you can imagine, working in different countries, understanding the cultural dynamics of building relationships and trust. Because in my business, I mean, and that's part of the finance world. What we sell, way we operate is based on trust. And to build trust, you have to build a strong relationship. And the language of relationships moves from culture to culture. It's not necessarily the same to develop a relationship. I remember when I was doing projects in India, and the way the Indians, I mean, actually, they're very similar to Mexicans, but I was doing things in Europe, and then I moved to India, and the way the Indians were doing things, for some people, I mean, even for me, I mean, we're like, well, this is weird, but that's the way to do it. So we have to smile and move on. And at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we are very similar. And maybe the language, the body language, the way we speak, or the way we communicate, or the way we interact with others, it's different. But at the end, I mean, people are expecting honesty, and people are expecting, I will say, honesty and the capacity to understand and listen the others. So without that I will say preconception of coming from a foreign country that wants to colonize a certain culture, transaction, or whatever, maybe you are the one that can approve or reject the financing or the money, which for some people it's something that is heavily needed, but you don't. It's the modesty. It's something that should come with you as part of your personality to do that. And that helps you to develop trust. Because at the end of the day, we are on the same on the same floor, and we have to understand that way.
Okay, Gabriel, I think you're spot on. One of the themes we explore on this show is how firms grow through relationships and reputation. In industries like investment banking and infrastructure development, relationships are often the foundation of everything. What role does credibility play when entering new markets or working with new partners?
That's if it's not all, it's 90% of it. Without credibility, without good reputation, without the ability to have this empathy that, for example, we are developing here, you cannot do anything. I mean, I think it's critical, it's important, it's the foundation. Because without that, you cannot do anything. That's the way I would say it. Is the credibility is pretty much everything, because you don't have, I mean, a brand, or you. I mean, it's you. It's about you and the way you can assess and deliver results, understand their needs and deliver results. So it takes time, but is worth to try.
Yep. And Gabriel, have you seen examples where strong relationships made the difference between a deal moving forward or falling apart?
No, completely. Several cases. I mean, it's I have something that most of my clients, I mean, end up being my friends now. So even without having a transaction, without doing anything professionally, now they're my friends. So for me, it's very important that the transaction, the level of personal relationship I can develop with in my case, my clients. I have been in other situations. I mean, I don't want to mention countries, because it's not about the country, it's about the person that was on that transaction, my client, that didn't want to interact, that saw me just as a transactional. I mean, I think he thought that I was just a banker, and so it was getting an agreement, terms and conditions and things like that, and you give me what I want. If not, I mean, let's move on. I have been in several situations. And when there are certain bankers, I will say that maybe they operate that way. But it's for me, it's a commoditization of the investment banking world. And that is, I think, if you want to differentiate yourself professionally, and if you want to deliver quality service, and obviously your reputation is on the table. And to do that, in my view, you have to develop a personal relationship with your client and the team of your client. And because otherwise, I mean, there are tons of cases that I have been in which without a relationship, I mean, we couldn't proceed. I think maybe in the past, I don't know, or maybe with other institutions, so I had the privilege of working in world-class institutions, but maybe people are used to work with other kind of institutions, other kind of professionals, that for them, the way of doing things is about pricing. Is about give me the terms. You don't give me the terms. I don't care about the relationship. If you don't give me the terms that I want, there's no deal. And that's fine. I mean, honestly, I mean, if that is the way they assess you, maybe that deal is not for me. Maybe that, honestly, I mean, and I have to say it. I mean, there are certain things. I mean, I always try to follow the philosophy of if it's for me, it's going to come and it's going to be there. So if that is not for me, it's not for me. And I have seen projects, and I mean, in a few transactions, as I was telling you, I mean, this guy is coming to my mind. He wanted the best terms possible, which is okay, I understand, but he never wanted to interact with me personally. He never wanted to develop a relationship. I saw him a couple of times, and that was it. And I was doing my best at the end, my best to achieve what he wanted. But at the end of the day, since we couldn't get what he wanted, I said, well, this is it. I mean, I cannot do more.
Absolutely. And you're being honest and transparent.
Absolutely. I mean, it's my reputation. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie with my client. I'm not gonna lie with the institution that I'm working on. And I'm not gonna lie to myself. And I have to be honest, transparent, and try, if possible, because in the case that I was just describing you, if I cannot develop the level of empathy that I wanted to have, I mean, that's life.
Absolutely. And Gabriel, many firms grow successfully through referrals and relationships, but at some point that growth can become unpredictable. There are periods where activity is strong, followed by stretches where visibility into future deals become less certain. Have you experienced moments in your career where growth or deal flow became unpredictable?
All the time. Nothing is predictable. In my business, nothing is predictable. I have to work. Every day is different. And that's honestly, I mean, that's the other thing. Honestly, that's what I love of what I do. Have been doing for more than 35 years. Every single day is different. Every time that I'm in front of my computer and I'm going to start working, I don't know if I'm going to get a call from someone. I don't know if I will find an article on a project that is going to be developed, or I hear or someone called me that there is an large investment project that needs to be developed and I can add value. I'll do whatever I need to do, actually, with my network, using my relationships, to get into that transaction, to explore the possibility at least of doing something. Nothing in my business every day is different. Nothing is predictable. It's interesting because now I'm the managing director of Iskali Capital Group, which is a small investment banking boutique, and we help companies to raise debt and equity financing from development finance institutions, family offices, and impact funds. And I was speaking with my banker. He said, well, I mean, we can give you a corporate loan. I mean, and you can grow your offices and you can change your blah, 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 no? And give me projections. He says, well, I can give you some estimates, but I don't know if this year my transactions are going to be closed. I don't know if next year I'm going to get new transactions in my pipeline, because everything depends on market conditions, the investment environment, interest rates. So yeah, I don't know if that's the answer that you were expecting, but that's the way I mean, this is not for everybody. This is for people that deal with volatility every single day.
Gabriel, actually, that was a great response, because I was going to ask you if some of that unpredictability could come from market changes,
Absolutely.
regulatory shifts, or capital availability.
Absolutely.
So thank you for saying that. What lessons did you learn about planning that you wish you had known earlier in your career?
Well, planning personally, I mean, at the personal level, I had been very well structured planning my life and thinking in all the different goals that are set in my life personally. Professionally is the same. I just translate the same methodology to my professional life. I recognize there are things that are above my control, but I always try to set goals and focus on those goals. I mean, without distraction. It is very important to remove the noise, particularly in my business. I mean, it's the stock market is down today. I mean, that can be a killer, or that can be it's an okay thing that happened today, and tomorrow we don't know. And we have to learn and to deal with those things. And is part of this business. It's not, as I said before, it's not for everybody.
Exactly. And Gabriel, another area where your experience is especially valuable is scaling across borders. Working across different regions introduces new challenges, including regulatory, cultural, and financing structures. What are some of the biggest challenges organizations face when expanding into new geographic markets?
Well, in my case, I mean, pretty much our focus is on sustainability. You know, a lot of the things that we do are linked to sustainability, and every country has its own sustainability framework and their own regulations and their own requirements, and it is tough. It is tough. I mean, you have to understand what it's achievable in one country, which is maybe not in another one. So we try to standardize this on global standards. Things like accounting. I mean, certain accounting principles in certain countries are different to others. And you have to learn fast how this is registered in one country different to you, or the way you register these certain accounts. This is like being in a gym. I mean, your mind should be flexible. And I think part of the experience of working in different countries is that you end up developing a muscle in your brain that can be stretched every time that is needed and recover the original form as soon as or when it's needed. And it applies also on the cultural differences. As I said before, it also applies to that. I mean, it's because on financial terms, I will say that pretty much the influence of the US or Occidental business model is quite universal. I mean, businesses. I mean, a lot of the most important business people in the world can be in India, Cambodia. I mean, Nigeria. Maybe they went to a business school in the US or London. So business wise, I will say that it's very, very easy to communicate. But the way you communicate, the cultural differences is where the challenge sometimes, I mean, it can be challenging because the way you communicate can be different. I don't want to say that it's bad or is good or is bad, is better. No, it's different. And understanding the differences makes the whole thing fascinating. I mean, for me, understanding the way they communicate in the business environment in Japan or Korea. And then you move to Argentina and it's different and it's fascinating. I mean, it's the way the language is not only the language, is the certain forms and principles and it is that the beauty of having a brain that has a muscle with no prejudices. I mean, there is no way you can judge a reaction or the way the other people reacts to your comment or request or the way you deliver your message in a proper way. There are a lot of books. To tell you the truth, I mean, when I was at the World Bank, I think I always say that I have been overtrained because I was trained every year in some of the most important business schools in the world, taking different topics: leadership, communication strategies, and global communication, in understanding cultural differences and things like that. I mean, so I have a lot of baggage on that. And it was every year, it was at least 2-3 weeks having these trainings. And you understand that this is something that evolves every year.
Absolutely.
And I think the most important thing is having a mind that is flexible, having a brain that is flexible. I mean, always curious. Curiosity is key, and the flexibility and the willingness to learn a new thing every day.
Okay, that's great. So, looking back across your career, there are usually a few turning points that shape how leaders think about growth. Moments where something worked better than expected, or perhaps didn't work at all. What are one or two lessons that stand out as pivotal in shaping how you approach growth today?
Well, growth, that's important to highlight today, because now I have the patience. I mean, and I think to be patient is important. I mean, to be mature, to understand that growth is a consequence. It's not a need. It's a consequence. When I was younger, I always wanted growth, and I was very aggressive, and I wanted to see growth every day, and I had this, I mean, young spirit, I will say. Today, highlighting what the way you say it, today is I think I have the maturity now to understand that it's a consequence. If I put every single day the task and the objectives with clarity, no noise, you were going to get the growth. Obviously, you have to focus on a target that is achievable. No, I mean, it's getting these small goals, and achieve small goals will give you to get to the prize, and the prize is growth. But it's something that is developed every single day. It's not something that it's not a lottery thing. It's something that is gonna come as a result of your good doing every single day. And that's what I mean, in the context of today, I mean, is that's the way I will say it. I mean, I just achieved 57 years old, and it was my birthday a few days ago, and on the 25th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I was reflecting about my life, and because I always thought that someone at my age will be very wise and I think one of the conclusion, I mean, and to say, I see myself in the mirror, and I see the same guy that it was, I mean, when I was 18. But now I have the patience, and I focus on growing as a result of every single day effort.
That's great. Having patience is important, and that is the wisdom. And as you look ahead over the next 12 to 24 months, what trends are you watching most closely?
Single answer: geopolitics. I think we are in the middle of a reconfiguration of the global order, and I think it's not only a topic of my business, but I think it's for every single topic. Is geopolitics on one side, and on the other, that I don't see this as a threat. I think it's an opportunity. Is artificial intelligence and the quantum computing that is gonna reconfigure. I mean, these three things, or two things, if we put technology and geopolitics in two baskets, are gonna redesign the way we do things. So I'm focusing attention. I'm not focusing. I mean, it's because that's above my control. I focus on things that I can control. These are things that I cannot control, but I pay attention to geopolitics and technology.
Okay. And where do you see opportunities emerging?
Opportunities, you mean investment or business opportunities? I see them in obviously health. I think health is going to be impacted as a result of these new technologies. That is going to revolutionize our lives. And in terms of affordability and life expectancy, I think is what we live now is going to sound like a stone age in a few years. That's one thing. I mean, health. The other one, I think robotics is, and that is something that will impact a lot of the manufacturing that we know today. I mean, there is already a lot of robotics, but not at the scale that I think we're gonna see in the near future. I mean, Near future, I mean less than 3 years. And I think it is, I see an opportunity there. And also on the considering geopolitics also as an opportunity, see at least for the Americas, I see that there is an opportunity because what we see is, this reconfiguration will give opportunities for countries that are less developed outside the US to, if they do things properly, to attract investment and catch up on things that we see here in the US on a day-to-day basis that are very difficult to find in other emerging economies in Latin America and the Caribbean. And that level because clearly the integration with the US economy will help if they do it the right way, will help the development of those countries. And I think there's a lot of upside working on those countries. But I will say that but of the one I have high hopes and I think will bring more change for the masses is health.
Okay. And I think you're right. The velocity of change today is staggering.
Yes.
What should organizations be doing today to prepare for the future?
I think I see technology as a way to leverage human capacity. And I think organizations should focus on how to leverage human capacity of their teams, considering the incredible, things that we're going to see in terms of technology. I'm scared of the reaction of certain companies or large conglomerates that they see technology as a way to fire people. If everybody takes technology that way, we may end up in a big trouble. Because you don't want to see an economy with people with no jobs and unemployed. So I think we have at this time the opportunity to create things that maybe years ago were not visible or were unthinkable. This is the opportunity. It's like I see a lot of some of these companies should take this as an opportunity for new ventures, create new things, because the technology is there. So instead of thinking that technology will replace human labor, use the labor to create something new that is today is unthinkable. I think that's what I see. The opportunities that I see today with the technology and the way I think companies should prepare for that. I think the companies should focus on developing new things, new solutions, new products, new way to approach the market, design new things. I think it's an opportunity because in 3-4 years, that window of opportunity is going to disappear. It's not going to be there because others are going to be doing that before you. I was reading an article a few days ago. The number of companies, the new companies created in the US this year, it's amazing. Is the largest number of new companies registered in the US in decades. And I think it's clear. It's a result of the technology. People are getting that we don't know how are they going to impact our lives in 2 years. So we have to decide in our companies if we want to use technology to leverage our teams and ourselves, or to see this as a way to reduce cost only and let others to create the solutions that maybe you will. I don't know. It's maybe I'm a dreamer. So, but I think that's the way I would see it.
Gabriel, this has been a great discussion. I appreciate you sharing your experience and perspective, especially about building trust, being transparent, navigating complexity, and scaling growth across markets. And before we wrap up, if someone listening wants to learn more about your work or connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, I'm in LinkedIn, and I think I'm the only Gabriel España in LinkedIn. And also I have a Twitter, now X account, that is Gabriel, and you can find me there. And I will be more than happy to hear. And if someone thinks differently, that's fine. Send me your comments and let's have a civilized conversation. Because I think, I don't want to say that I'm completely right. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but the truth is that we are in a tipping point in which the opportunities are going to be there for the ones that wants to see them.
Excellent. And to our audience, I will be putting Gabriel's contact information in the description of the podcast below. Gabriel, thanks again for joining us today. I appreciate your time and insights.
No, Mark, thank you very much. Thanks to you and all the people that put some time, today to listen to what I have been saying. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It has been an honor for me to be here.